Hey, what's going on with everybody today, man? Today we're working on this Nissan Juke. Customer said she had a slight vibration when she was accelerating, and she said when she was at a stoplight she noticed her coolant gauge actually went up a tick. So right now I'm just letting it run here for about an hour, making sure the gauge doesn't jump up on me, and then next you'll see me actually hook a code reader up and scan for all the codes.
Yeah, looking everything. Everything's good on it.
Alright, now here you can see I'm hooking up my code scanner, and I'm going to do an actual all module scan on it just to make sure. I'm going to tap into every single module on the vehicle, make sure there's nothing stored in there that I couldn't see in the first place. So you'll see me doing that right now.
Quick little scan.
Alright, and here you can see the scans completing now. We had two codes. I was mainly looking for like a coolant temp sensor or a cooling fan code. We had none of those stored, so that tells me that we weren't really having too many issues with the overheating, which you see as we see we had a steering angle sensor, and I think it was like a tire pressure sensor, but both the codes are passed, so they're not actually active codes. Usually it will say like current or active or something up top. It was actually a current code going on with the vehicle. So as you can see, it says pass on both of them, so we're not too worried about it.
Fan codes or anything stored in here. Alright.
And the next clip here is after me letting it run for an hour. I was showing you guys that it didn't actually jump up over the halfway mark. It was staying around 210, which is normal for idle. Alright, this is the first time I'm actually lifting the vehicle up and taking a look underneath. I'm looking for tires, I'm looking for bad mounts, I'm also taking a look at the axles. So the first thing I seen was the actual passenger side axle boot was torn, caused all the grease to shoot out, shot all inside the wheel and all over the caliper, tie rod, all that. And when this happens, that grease is actually in there to keep everything kind of impact and tight. And when that happens, it allows more movement between the two joints, which causes that vibration when you're accelerating, or might feel an actual shake. Steering wheel may shake. So it's always a good idea when you're doing these axles and you see this, always replace both of them. Don't just replace one, because they're both very important to the car. And you're replacing one could make the other one go bad, and you'll have the same issue right down the road. So right here, we got the okay to do the axle, so I'm popping the wheels off.
Just repeat that step for the next side.
The other one off on the other side as well. I'm showing you guys. First thing I'm going to tear off is this ABS wire. It's just pinned onto the strut tower through little clips. No big deal, just pull them off. And then we see this brake hose right here. We're not going to actually have enough slack to move it around, so we're going to have to pull that caliper off. There's two 19mm bolts on the back. And here I'm just using a swivel and a little 19mm shallow socket. Get back here. Actually, I had to take the extension off because it was too long. So pop the extension off, so you see me doing here. Still using the swivel and 19mm shallow. You'll see me go back here, pop the caliper off. And with these, you can just take the two main bolts for the actual caliper bracket off. You don't actually take off the whole assembly and take it apart. That just adds time. See, I'm taking the bolts off now. You see me slide the caliper off to the side.
Put this off to the side. No.
Alright, and then just pop the rotor off, throw that off to the side as well, just so you're not dealing with it falling off on your toe or something. Happened to me a couple times and does not feel good. Alright, and then next we're going to take a look at these two strut tower bolts. It's going to be 21mm nut on a 21mm bolt, and we also need to take off this hex nut. That was a 32mm, so that's what I'm taking off first. Just grab a 32mm socket and an air impact. You might have to put your hand on the hub to keep it from spinning and just take the bolt off. And here you're going to see me pushing in the axle, making sure it's freed up from the spline. Sometimes they seize up in there and you got to tap on the end with a hammer. And here you can see I'm using my air impact and a 21mm and an adjustable wrench. And I'm going to zap this bolt off. And just a little tip doing these when you got a situation like this. The bolts usually have splines on them, so it's really hard for them to turn in there. So it's always a good idea to take the nut off first and then just tap on the end with a bolt. I got lucky on this time, didn't have splines on the actual bolt going through the strut, so I just zapped the nut off and it slid right out. But sometimes you gotta take the nut off and tap on the bolt and it'll just pop right out for you guys. doing here.
Alright, both loose.
Alright, I got this bolt out here on the strut. Just the only one holding it in. I just got one bolt holding up the actual wheel hub to the strut. Alright, now that I'm ready, I'm going to take that bolt out and I'm going to pull down, out, and then I'm going to turn it to the right, and it should give me enough room to pull the axle right out the back of the hub without having to take the tie rod off or anything, so it saves you a whole lot of time. So you see here, I'm pushing it out from the strut, and I'm grabbing the back side of the axle and pulling it out of the hub, and then I was able to pull it out. Just set it off to the side, and then what I like to do is just put this back to the strut tower and throw a bolt through it just to hold it up. Don't leave too much tension on the actual tie rod and lower ball joint. So I just like setting it up there and just leaving it to rest. I'll show you guys that here.
Got the axle out this spline here. Put the bolt up top, keep it out so we ain't got too much tension on it. And then just go ahead and repeat the same process on the other side.
See me just zapping off this wheel, tearing off the whole assembly. Just sped through this, guys. I didn't want to bore you guys. Again, same process. It's all the way tearing it down as the driver's side. So if you ever need help, just scroll back to the video and just take a look at the other side. This side actually had a cotter pin on it, so this, you see me here, that's what I was just taking out. Taking the caliper off. Take the rotor off, set off to the side. And here I'll take the two bolts off the strut tower and the wheel knuckle. Got those off. I'll work on this axle nut now. Alright, make sure it's free again from the hub, and then I'll go ahead and pull this out. Same thing, you're going to pull it down and pull it out from the actual strut tower. Alright, here I'm just giving you a close-up now. Let's show you guys, you want to try to throw a pry bar up underneath. That is a perfect spot up under the frame for it. You just stick it through there and through the transmission, between the axle and the transmission face, and then you just pry it out. You might have to pry it on a little bit. Some come out easy, some come out hard. Just depends how long it's been in there for. This I just had to work around for a couple seconds and you'll see it pop out.
Just pry on it a little bit, don't pry too hard. Keep working on it, it should just pop right out of there soon.
It also helps if you're able to get in a couple different spots and try instead of just staying in one spot. Like you see here, I went down to the bottom, and then that's actually what was able to get it out for me. You'll hear a little pop, and then the fluid should drain a little bit out of there, so you know it's actually popped out of the joint. There it goes for me. The CVT oil is dropping down to the floor. That's how you know it's popped out of the groove. Alright, and you can come in here now and just yank the whole axle out.
Go ahead and
you can see here, just pops right out.
There you go.
There you go.
Just work it out.
I was actually tangled up behind the brake hose here. I had to use two hands.
Alright, work it out. Goes off to the side.
Now we're on the passenger side here. You got two bolts holding this one on. It's a little like half moon bracket, and there's a bolt up top and the bottom. They're 1/2 inch bolts. You can see the bracket right here. It's like a little half moon type of deal. And this axle actually just slides right out on this side. You didn't have to use no pry bar, nothing. I was just able to pull it right out, which is very easy. Slide it out. And this one actually, the whole shaft comes out with the axle, so don't try like separating them inside the car. Some models are different, but on this actual unit, it comes as a whole assembly. So you just pull the whole thing out as one.
You see what it looks like? Goes to that
Showing you guys what it looks like up inside.
Where the two bolts go.
There's that race that it bolts up to. You see the two bolt holes. And then I'm just checking out. Make sure you always check your new parts. It could be anything, batteries, sensors, everything. Make sure you double check them. Here you can see me just double checking the axles. And we went with a GSP CV axles. And here's the part number to the passenger side. And here's the driver's side part number, just in case y'all want to cross-reference them. and they both looked great for me. Everything was right on, the splines, the shaft, everything. So you see I'm throwing them in. Always recommend putting like red wheel hub grease or any type of grease really on these splines. It just makes it really easy to slide in. Sometimes, be sitting there for 30 minutes just trying to get the axle to pop in. But with the grease, it just helps it just slide right in, way easy, stress-free. You'll see me do that here. You see me slide in the axle. It's kind of hard to get in there and see. It's why I just kind of let you guys over there on the post. Alright, and here I'm just showing you guys the best way to slide this axle in. So I got it started in there now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my right hand and I'm going to put it on the face of the axle coming out of the transmission. And you just want to make sure the axle doesn't slide back to you with that hand. So you're just going to keep tension on it. You're going to grab your left hand, grab the end of the shaft, and just use it and kind of just slide it back and forth, kind of like you're beating it off. And then you're just going to slip it right in there. It should pop right in. It's a little sus hand movement, but it works the best.
Alright, on passenger spline, just put a little bit of grease.
Do the same thing. I'm going to throw a little bit of grease on here. And this one slides in a little bit easier, so all you got to do is just kind of line the spline up, just turn it left to right a little bit, and then it should just slide right in.
Same with this side. Come in here and make sure it's flush with that. You're going to have to fill
Make sure you want to slide all the way back into the end of the transmission because this bracket only goes in there one way. So just show here you got the little half shoe bracket.
With it, it's going to go in there just like that.
I'm showing you guys how it slides in, goes up and down just like that. You slide it in, get the 2 bolts started. You can see me here finishing up tightening it.
Alright. It's tight. We're going to try to slip the axle back in the spine. Take this bolt off.
So here you'll see me actually disconnecting the steering knuckle again because I'm going to slip in the front of the CV axle into the hub. And same with here, I always recommend using a little bit of grease as well. It just helps it slide in a little bit better.
Pop this out again.
Alright, you'll see me pull it out and down once again. Just grab that knuckle, pop it right into the hub. Sometimes you may have to spin the hub just to get it lined up right. And bam, you see I'm pushing it all back together now. I'm lining up the steering knuckle up to the strut. I'm going to grab my 2 bolts to the strut, throw them in there.
Alright, I know it's kind of hard to see, but for y'all that couldn't see what I just did, I lined this axle up back with the spline. I bolted everything up there. Bolted this back out, ready to go. Just got to put the other bolt and bolt it up. Tuck everything in. Then we're going to go over to the passenger side and do the same thing.
Alright, now I'm just speed running it a little bit, showing you guys doing the exact same thing I just did to the passenger over to the driver. Slipping the knuckle out, throwing the actual CV axle in it, bolting it up, and then pushing everything back to where it belongs. Tightening the 2 strut bolts here. Tucking in the ABS cable. You want to make sure that's not rubbing on anything, or you will have an ABS light come on. Customer will not be happy.
Now we're going to work on the brakes.
Here I'm just showing, double checking everything, make sure all the bolts are tight, cable's tucked. And you can see I'm working on the brakes here now. Throwing the rotor on, I'm going to slip on the caliper. And I'm throwing the 2 bolts in for the caliper, lining everything up. I'm going to grab my impact here with that 19 swivel again. You see me tighten it up here.
And then for the axle nut for now, I'm just going to screw this on and let it tighten it.
And then for this axle nut, you don't want to hammer it on there. I'm just tightening it one little hammer, little ugga with the impact, because you do want to torque these to spec, or it will mess up the bearing. So you see I'm just hitting it with one little ugga, bam, done, finish it off. Finish it off the passenger side. You see me speed run this one as well. Just throw everything back together, making sure it's all ready to get torqued. If this video has helped you guys out at any point, go ahead and leave me a like and subscribe down below. I very much appreciate it. If you have any more mechanic related questions, also list those down below as well. I work on pretty much everything, and I'm glad to assist you on any question you may need. I have more content on my channel, and don't forget to check it out. Appreciate it, guys.
Attach says all bolted up now. You can see I got the rotor, the caliper on's tight, 2 struts tight. Those bolts back there are tight. Now we're going to drop it down, and we're going to torque the 2 axle nuts.
So here I'm just looking for the torque spec.
Alright, right now I'm looking at the specs. It's axle nut torque, and right now it's showing us 133 to 136. So I'm gonna hit it at like 136 to be safe.
So for those that couldn't hear me, I said I was gonna torque it down to 136. The computer says around 133 to 136, so always go with the higher number. And then as you're torquing, I just use a pry bar. You stick between 2 studs here. And then what that gives you the access to is to slip on the actual socket and then not spin the hub, because if you don't have this pry bar, just keep spinning. You'll never be able to torque it. And what I always recommend is just go for 2 clicks just to ensure that it's actually at the torque spec rating. Just go to the other side here. I'm setting down my pry bar, grab my torque wrench, and go click 1 and click 2.
Jack it up, put the wheels on it.
And here I'm just lifting it up, about to throw the wheels up on it. And clean up my mess a little bit. Grab the driver's side wheel. Working on the passenger side now. When you tighten the wheels, don't forget the star pattern. Just to make sure it's tightened evenly flush all the way around. Doing the same on the driver's side here. And then you want to also check the CVT transmission fluid, because you do lose some when you're dropping the axle down. So I'm showing you guys here, there's the dipstick coming right up beside the coolant reservoir. And you want to make sure it's warm and running when you're checking this fluid, by the way.
Force it down in there.
My vehicle is already warm at the time of making this video, so
Pull it back out.
here I'm just showing you guys what level mine was at. There's like a little graded line at the tip. Either you want to be in between the 2 grates, or you want to be right above it. So I see I'm right above it, so I'm actually good to go on this.
Let's go ahead and tidy it up and take it on a test ride. See how we did.
And here I'm pulling it out, taking it down the road, ensuring everything's good. And after the test drive, it drove great. Gave out to the customer, and the customer was ecstatic.
Alright y'all, that pretty much wraps it up for the Nissan. I appreciate y'all tuning in. If this video helped you out in any way, shape, or form, go ahead and leave me a like, subscribe down below. Check out my other content out as well on my channel. I very much appreciate it. More DIY content coming to y'all very soon. Appreciate y'all tuning in.